What's up everybody, welcome back. So first of all, I'm sorry for not uploading in the past few, days. I've been on a short vacation and I didn't really have anything planned, so the opportunity just presented and I went, so I'm sorry. But we're back and we're gonna work on updating the project to Unreal Engine 5.2 and we're gonna make sure that we fix our XP system in today's video. So somebody in the Discord pointed out it's broken and somewhere along the line we broke it. I don't know where, but we're gonna fix it. So this is probably a little bit shorter video and I got a second video planned for tomorrow where we're gonna create a spawner for the pickups that we created, so we can spawn our loot pickups like the equipment and the weapons and things like that and have them spawn in randomly. So that's what we're gonna do today and tomorrow. First of all, let's start with the 5.2 upgrade. So if you have the project open already, you want to close it. And I'm gonna go to the launcher. So my launcher is a little bit messed up. I'm not sure what happened in here. But I don't have any images, but that doesn't really matter. So I'm gonna go to the correct project and then show in folder. So we are in the actual project folder with the uproject file and you want to right click it, and then for Windows 11 you want to go to show more options, and for Windows 10 this should just be the menu you are presented with, and then you want to switch the Unreal Engine version. So over here, and we can simply select 5.2. So this is a blueprint only project, so it's pretty simple to upgrade the engine version. This is all we need to do. If you have plugins installed or C++, it's a little bit more work. So you want to install the new engine versions, plugins, and things like that. But for the blueprint only, this is all we need to do. So now we can reopen the project and it probably needs to recompile shaders. So then I'm going to pause the video and be back in a second. So we're back in the project. This is 5.2 and actually everything seems to be working, so that's good. There's not really that much that changed, or well, plenty changed, but we don't need to change anything in the blueprints. So we are going to notice something if we are going to build the game. Then if we play with Eli and we try to reload or switch weapons, our hands will be stuck together. So if you remember, for Eli we're using the fabric node in the animation blueprint, and we use curves to drive the fabric node, and those curves need to be updated, so we need to fix that for 5.2. So let's start by doing that. We're going to go into the characters heroes folder and then we need to go to Eli. So Eli is the only one using the fabric node, so we don't need to worry about Quinn. So we're going to go into the animations folder, and in here we have a few montages we need to take care of. So let's start by looking for the equip montages. And what we need to do is move the curve from the montage to the animation sequence, and then everything will work again. So we can simply open the montage first, where the curve is right now, and we have it over here, disable left hand IK. So we're gonna select it and then we can simply cut it over here so it's gone. And then simply close it down and open the corresponding animation, and in here you can right click on the curve. And then you can paste it over here. So all the way at the top. And then it will simply paste it in place over here. So it's pretty simple to fix. And that's all we need to do. So we need to do the same thing for the rifle equip. So let's go in here, right click and cut the curve from here. And then go into the actual animation sequence and we want to paste it in here. So that's good to go. So we have the two equip montages, then we want to do it for the pistol melee one. So let's look for pistol melee, and in here that's the additive montage. We also want to cut the curve from the montage and paste it into the actual animation sequence. There we go. Save it, and that's good to go. Then we have the 3 reload animations, so we also want to take care of those. So simply look for reload, and move the curve from the montage to the actual animation. There we go, that was the pistol one. Then we have the rifle one over here. So let's cut and paste it in the sequence. There we go. And the last one for the shotgun. Disable left hand IK, cut it from here and paste it in the actual sequence. So that should be good. And then I have one last one on the list, and that's the grenade toss animation or montage. So I might have forgotten one or two, although I don't think so, but if I do, you know what to do. You want to go in the montage, cut the curve from there and paste it inside of the animation. So you should be able to take care of this yourself right now. So save everything. And then we should be good to go with Unreal Engine 5.2. And right now, if we build the game, Eli will also be working again. So yeah, a pretty easy upgrade. So we have that out of the way. Now let's take a look at fixing the XP system. So somebody in the Discord pointed out that the XP system is actually broken. I hadn't noticed myself yet. Probably because I had both of the characters I was testing with at level 10 for a long while, so I wasn't really earning XP or leveling up. But if the client earns XP, then it will also be added to the server, and they will even get different amounts, if I remember correctly. So something definitely got messed up in there. I think it happened when we changed some of the begin play events on the character, partially. But it doesn't really matter, we need to look at it. So that's what we're going to do now. We're going to make sure that everything works again, and we're going to clean it up a little bit as well. First of all, we want to go into the widgets folder and open our in-game HUD. So let's start over here. And right now we have a few events to update the XP. So update XP amount, level, and then play the UI animation level up. And in here, we're actually grabbing the variables from the player profile. This works, but we need to wait for the server to replicate it. So we're going to change things around a little bit. We're going to make sure the server does everything, and we're not going to set it locally. So this is going to change as well. And if we simply keep it like this, then the server might not have replicated it to the client when this is called, and it will still display the old value. So long story short, what we're going to do is simply remove this and pass on the actual amount as a variable for the function. So we can simply drag it onto the function, and value is actually a fine name, so let's keep that. And that's good to go. So we want to do the same thing for the update XP level. So in here, we can simply get rid of the player profile and then plug it into the event as well, the function, I'm sorry. So I'm going to change the name quickly. There we go. And the rest of it should be good to go. And then we have the play UI animation level up. So in here, again, we want to simply turn this into an input for the function and get rid of the player controller stuff. So it creates 2 pins, and I want it to be 1 pin, and I don't want it to be a wildcard. So it's an integer, that's fine. And then let's call this level and get rid of the wildcard. There we go. So we have those functions ready to go with an input. So we can close this down and now go to the actual characters folder to our XP component. So let's open this up first. So currently we have most of this running as a multicast. So we have this XP component in it, and that's called from the begin play on the character. So that's effectively a multicast. And over here we have it set up as an actual multicast. So that's where things go wrong partially. Like I said, the event begin play is already a multicast, and then multicast functions will also call this event, I think. So things are messed up, so we're gonna fix it. So in here, the first thing we want to do is go to the class defaults, and we're simply gonna make sure that the component itself replicates. So then the server can set the replicated variables, and we should not need to set anything locally. So make sure component replicates class defaults is enabled. And then for the shooter player controller over here, we're also going to set replication to replicated. So that should be good to go. And then we can change our init function over here. So what we want to do is get rid of this part over here. So the get hero base and then the cast to the hero base, we can actually delete it. And I don't think we use the hero base anymore anywhere else. So over here for the locally controlled branch, but we can simply use the player controller to do the same check. So let's get rid of the hero base over here and then get rid of the entire variable. So we cleaned that up a little bit as well. So we still need to get our player controller and store it. So what we can do in this case is simply get our owner. So that's the owner of the component. And from here, what we can do is cast to a pawn. So we want to get the controller of our character. So we could cast to our hero base character, but when you're casting, you always want to cast to the lightest class possible. So the pawn is where the character is derived from, and our hero base is derived from a character. So if we cast to a pawn also has a controller. So we can simply cast to that class and then get a controller from the pawn. And then use that to cast to our shooter player controller. So get rid of the get player controller one. We want to plug this in over here. So for the cast to shooter player controller, we're going to make sure this is valid. So we're going to drag off this one. And if the cast failed, we're going to delay until next tick. So we definitely want to make sure that this variable is valid. So after the delay, plug it into the cast node again. So this will loop until it's valid. So we have our player controller stored, and this is going to run server only, but this is replicated. So the local player the local XP component will also know the correct player controller. Then what we want to do from the player controller is actually drag off and make sure that we have our isPlayerReady boolean set on the player controller. So if that boolean is set, then the player profile is actually loaded. So we need to make sure that's actually there before we start to retrieve variables from it. So let's drag off the player controller and do get isPlayerReady. And if this returns false, we want to delay until next tick again. So plug it into the condition. If it's false, delay until next tick. And plug it back into the branch. And if it's true, we're going to continue over here. So we want to make sure we plug in our shooter player controller over here to make this work. So we're going to set our player XP and our player level. That's fine. We're going to make those rep notifies later. So let's ignore this part for now. And because we're going to make those rep notifies, we can get rid of this part over here. So we're going to do that in the rep notify function, update the HUD. So delete it from begin play. So this is our new begin play event. And then we also want to take a look at our component add XP over here. So we have it set to a multicast event, and we're simply going to set it to not replicated. So the server is the one handling all the damage inputs, firing and all that kind of stuff. So the server is effectively the one that's going to be calling this function. And it doesn't really need to be multicast now that we have the class default component set to replicate, and we're simply going to make sure that the server handles everything. So this is just a little bit cleaner. So because we are running this server side, we don't actually need our locally controlled check, so we can simply plug it in over here is server. This is not replicated, so we're going to add this to make sure that we're only taking calls from the server. So the next part we can keep keep it the way it is. So we're simply going to set the new XP. This is going to be rep notify, so that's going to execute something else. Then we're going to check for a level up, and if the level up can go, then again we're going to set with a rep notify, update the player controller profile, and after that we want to disconnect this branch where we update the actual HUD and save the XP and level. So everything over here, we're going to simply delete it. So our component add XP function is a bit shorter. This is all that's left in here. And then we're going to do the rest inside of the rep notifies. So let's start with the player XP one. And in here, oh, I'm switching my notes quickly. So the player XP for the replication, we're going to set it to rep notify over here. And then for replication condition, we're going to set owner only. So this will make it execute on the owning client, so the local player, and that way we know we are dealing with the actual player that has the widget to update. There is one little downside: this will also execute on the server, so I'm not sure why it says owner only, because it should say server and only an owner, but we can pretty easily filter out the server if we need to. So let's set up our new function over here on rep player XP. So if this changes, then we want to grab our shooter player controller, and from the player controller we're going to get our HUD. And this is where we're going to use our simple little check. So if we have a HUD, that means we are a local player controller, and otherwise we do not have any HUDs because we don't even have a monitor. So we can simply check if the HUD is valid. And if that's valid, then we know this is not the server player controller, but the owning player one. So then we can drag off the HUD and simply say update XP amount. Plug it into the isValid pin, and I'm going to grab the player XP and plug it in over here. And then we want to save our XP and level, and that's also on the shooter player controller. So we can simply drag off here and do save XP and level. And call that in here as well. So that's the rep notify for the player XP. And now we want to do the same thing for the player level. So select player level, we're going to set it to rep notify, and then replication condition owner only. So we can grab this isValid check for the HUD, and we're going to do the same thing in the player level. So we know we are on the owning client controller over here. And this time we want to drag off the HUD and then do update XP level. Plug it into the isValid pin and grab the level over here. So that's good to go. Then we want to save it again, so drag off the player controller, save XP and level, plug it in, and now there's only one little downside. If we start this event the first time, we are also going to fire the rep notify if we load our profile and then set the level from 0 to what is actually stored on the player profile, and then it's going to display our level up animation. So what we're going to do is create a new boolean over here that's going to say skip level up animation, and by default we're going to set it to true. So compile and then set the default to true, compile again. So plug it into a branch over here. So if we want to skip our level up animation, we're not going to do anything except set the bool to false. So plug it in over here. And if we don't want to skip it, we're going to drag off our HUD over here and then play the UI animation level up. So plug this into the false pin, and again we need to plug in our player level over here. So compile and save, and that should be good to go as well. So that should be pretty much anything for, or everything for the actual XP component. And now we do need to go inside of the hero base character and make two small changes in there. So let's go to our hero base, go to the event graph. So first of all, for begin play, let's start over here. At the beginning, we are calling our XP component init, and this is, like I mentioned, quote unquote a multicast, so this will execute on all instances of the character. So we're gonna cut this from the beginning over here, reconnect the branch, and then move all the way to the side after the isServer branch. So we only want the server to run the XP component init. So plug this into the true pin of the isServer branch and then move on. So that's one change. And then for the actual interface function, so over here, add XP, let me double check. I think this is where we want to add it. Yeah, we simply want to add a has authority check in here to make sure that only server calls will make it through to our component. So let's compile and save. And now this should be good to go. So we should be good to test this and have working XP again. So I'm going to set up a new game with 2 new players so we can actually test it. I'll be back in a second. So here we go, a 2-player free-for-all game. And let's see if we got this working again. So we are back with textures, thank you. So yeah, let's see. I need to kill him, obviously. So 100 XP, let me respawn over here. Oh, come on, there we go. So the server doesn't get any XP, so that seems to be good. Let's try the other way around. So now the server gets 100 XP and the client should not get anything. So it seems to be good. Now let's see if we can actually level up and if that's working as well. So let me see. Let me kill this guy a couple of times. Oh, come on. 400, so one more, I guess. And I don't know where I'm spawning, obviously. There we go. So that's probably 2 more because I need more than 500 XP. So one last kill over here. There we go. And I'm also playing a level up animation, so I think we should be good to go. So I think I also have the testing trigger in here, so we should be able to test this. So right now the server is leveling up and the client doesn't get any XP or HUD messages at all. So that should be working again and we have that problem out of the way. So I'm gonna keep it at this for this video. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'm pretty cold, so I hope it didn't notice too much in the video. And I'm gonna try and upload a second video tomorrow to actually compensate for not uploading anything in the past week. So we can make a spawner for the pickups over here and have them spawn in the level randomly. So thanks for watching, everybody. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, please consider leaving a like and I'll be back soon for more. Later, guys.